In today's video we will take a look at countries with the weirdest distribution of their population. First off, we take a look at Australia. This massive country has an area of over 7.6 million kilometers squared, but only has a population of 26 million, making it one of the least densely populated countries in the world. What's particularly interesting is the distribution, which shows that almost all inhabitants live in coastal areas, mainly in the southeast. This is because in the middle there is the famous outback, which can have temperatures up to 50 degrees in summer. Up next we take a look at Canada. Canada is the second largest country in the world with an area of over 9.9 million kilometers squared, but only has a population of 39 million inhabitants. The northern parts of this country are far into the polar circle and are uninhabited. To illustrate, take a look at this map. Half of the population lives south of the red line, and additionally 90% of the entire population lives within 100 miles from the US border. Moving on to China, another huge country with an area of over 9.6 million kilometers squared. It's the fourth largest country in the world and has 1.4 billion inhabitants. But almost all of them live in the eastern part of the country. To be exact, 94% lives east of this line, and this is thanks to the Tibet Highlands in the west. The largest country in the world, Russia, couldn't be missed in this video. The vast majority of this country is uninhabited due to extreme climate and geographical conditions. The country lies for over 75% in Asia, but over 75% of the population lives in the European part of this country. Namibia is a very sparsely populated country in southern Africa. It has just over 2.5 million inhabitants, spread out in an area of over 800,000 kilometers squared. A large part of this country is part of the Kalahari Desert, which makes living in that area less attractive. As you can see on the map, there's a more densely populated area in the north. Up next is Egypt. This North African country has a very unique distribution of its population. As you can see on this map, for the most of it, it's spread out in a line. This of course has a reason, and if you take a closer look, you can see that this is exactly the route that the Nile River takes on its way to the Mediterranean Sea. The soil around the river is much more fertile, which leads to a lot of people living in this area. Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia and Libya are the other countries in North Africa. These are all distributed in pretty much the same way. The majority of their populations live on the Mediterranean coast, and the south of these countries are all filled with sand because it's all in the big Sahara Desert. Up next is Brazil. Again, one of the larger countries in the world, clearly has a special distribution of its population. Almost all of its 215 million inhabitants live in the east and on the Atlantic coast. And this is because of the Amazon rainforest, making it very difficult to live in the western part of the country. Lastly, we take a look at Scandinavia. The countries of Norway, Sweden and Finland are all located very far north, and the northern parts are far into the polar circle. And this is the reason that there aren't many people living there, but almost all of them live in the southern part of their own countries. As a bonus, I want to show you two more maps. This one, as incredible as it may seem, shows that there are just as many people living in the red area as in the blue area. The red area is the most densely populated part of the entire world and is in India and Bangladesh. And this one shows that there are just as much people living inside of the circle than outside of the circle. And inside are the countries of China, India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, the Philippines and Japan, among a couple of other ones as well. Let me know which one you think is the weirdest.